Hi, my name is Sarah Hinds. I'm an artist in residence here at UF Health Shands Hospital. I'd like to share a project with you today called Watercolor Reflections. Here's what you'll need to get started. You'll need some watercolor paper. Watercolor paper is thick enough that it won't get soggy if you get it wet. You'll need some watercolors. Any kind that you have will do. You'll need a large brush and a medium or small brush, paper towels, and some water. All right, let's get started. Okay, I've got my studio all set up and my watercolor paper out. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to wet the paper with plain water. Brushing back and forth across the paper until it's nice and wet. Then I'll start laying in some color. Whatever color I choose for the center will be the area where my land meets the water. In this one, that's blue. For this painting, I think I'm going to have it be yellow. Because I've wet the paper first, the color just glides across the paper. I always keep a paper towel handy when I'm working so I can wipe off my brush in between colors. And now I'll go for some blue. I have a couple different kinds of watercolor paint out. They're pretty much the same, but there's some very slight variations in the colors. Because that paper is wet, the colors blend beautifully. I'm creating the shoreline towards the middle of my paper, but you can create the shoreline in any spot you'd like. If I want the colors to blend more, I can even tip the paper up or down to let the paint run. I can also take a brush with plain water and brush over the line where the colors meet. Let's see. Wet on wet is a great technique for backgrounds and loose designs. It's not as good for detail because everything wants to blend together. So what I'll do now is I'll wait for this wet on wet background to dry and then come back in and show you how we do the reflections on the water. My paper is nice and dry now, and it's time to add in a shoreline. I'm going to mix a little green and just a touch of brown. Start thinking about Florida's lakes. I'm not worried too much about detail here. As these trees are quite far away. it's time to think about some reflections. Reflections are often a little duller, darker, or fainter than the original color. So I've just added a little water to my mix here. And now I'm going to paint the opposite of what I painted the first time. If you'll notice, I'm leaving a little line of that beautiful pure yellow to represent that spot where the sun hits the water. Finally, if you'd like to, you can add a little something in the foreground to give your painting dimension. I'm just going to blend a little black with the green I have to create some shoreline grasses. To finish your painting off, if you'd like to add some additional ripples in the water, you can mix up some of the same colors that you used when you were doing the wet on wet. And with a very fine brush, come in and add some of those lines. They say that water is the eraser for watercolor. So if you ever notice that you've gotten your colors too dark, you can just add a little water. If you want to add ripples heading towards the shoreline, just remember they get smaller and closer together and fainter the further you go back into the distance of the painting. Thanks so much for watching, and have fun trying this watercolor reflection project.